Thanks for joining us on Plus TV Africa. I'm Benga Aboroa. Boko Haram fighters killed 6 traders when they ambushed a convoy of lorries on a military escort in northeastern Nigeria, a civilian militia member and a local resident said on Thursday. 6 traders were killed in an ambush by Boko Haram gunmen on Tuesday, said Umar Kachala from the Volunteer Security Force in Gamboru, a trading hub on Nigeria's border with Cameroon. The attack happened at about 6 p.m. at Musini village, some 16 kilometers from Gamboru. Kachala said the gunmen opened fire on the 23-strong vehicle convoy, forcing it to stop, then looted supplies and touched the vehicles. AFP asked for confirmation and comment from Nigeria Army spokesman Brigadier General Texas Chukwu in a text message. He said only it is not true. The national leadership of the People's Democratic Party has said the Independent National Electoral Commission allegedly rigged the election in favor of the rival All Progressive Congress. The National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Kola Ologbondiyan, in a statement in Abuja, also accused the commission of pulling down the results of the election from its website. He said that apart from the huge discrepancies between the actual votes cast at the polling centers and the results released by INEC, there's evidence that INEC pulled down the original result, which was in favor of the PDP candidate, Professor Kolapo Olushola, from the database to accommodate the alterations. Ahead of the 2019 elections, political analysts have continued to comment on the conduct of the Ekiti elections, which held last Saturday. Doctor of Political Science Dele Ashiru of the University of Lagos spoke with our correspondent Mary Chinda and said the low turnout of voters leaves more to be desired for the next general election.
The result declared by INEC shows that the election was keenly contested and that the 2 candidates and the 2 political parties, were able to convince those who came out to vote for them. But beyond that, it also shows that the rate of mobilization for that election was not adequate. Because if you look at the total number of voters, you find out that it's not up to 50% of the total registered voters in the Ekiti election. And what that tells me is that there is some form of voter apathy in spite of, the numbers that was recorded. And that is also showing that a lot still needs to be done about convincing the people to come out and exercise their franchise each time there's an election.
The lecturer also spoke on the rejection of the results by the opposition People's Democratic Party.
I think that the Ekiti election is credible. And I think so because, one, if you look at all the indicators for an election to be credible, those indicators are there. Knowing the character of the ruling class in Nigeria, no matter how credible, how free or fair an election may be, they will still say it is not credible. One, if you look at the submission of those who observed the election, both domestic and international, there were no phenomenon of ballot snatching, no significant violence as we witnessed in 2014. The card readers performed well, not optimally, but at least more than 60%. I think
INEC says it may be incapable of stopping vote buying during the 2019 general elections. INEC Director of Publicity and Voter Education, Mr. Oluwole Osaze Uzi, said the commission had taken several steps since the issue of vote buying drew national attention during the Edo State governorship elections in 2016, as the power to arrest such offenders lays with the security agencies. The director also justified the commission's 242 billion naira proposal to conduct the elections, stating that the amount was to ensure that logistics and relevant trainings for next year's elections is well attended to. The House of Representatives asked the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, to end the killings of policemen by unknown gunmen before the attacks deteriorated to a fresh security challenge for the country. Lawmakers gave the directive in Abuja as the House debated a motion on the killing of 4 policemen in Edo State by yet-to-be-identified attackers. They asked the IG to act fast as paneling a crack team of detectives to arrest the 4 policemen were reportedly murdered on July 14th at Sabon in Owan West local government area of the state. The Deputy Whip of the House, Mr. Pali Iriase, who drew the attention of lawmakers to the incident under matters of urgent public importance, that the killers went a step further to set the bodies of the victims ablaze. President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed a new chairman of the Federal Emergency Road Maintenance Agency, Mr. Tunde Lemo, who happens to be a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Also appointed by the president are 6 members of the board of FEMA and a new managing director. A letter to this effect by Buhari seeking the approval of the Senate was read at plenary by the President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki. Plenary at the Senate today was rowdy for about 30 minutes after the President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, read a letter from the President Muhammadu Buhari seeking legislative confirmation of appointment into the board of the Federal Emergency Road Maintenance Agency. Deputy President of the Senate, Ike Ekweremadu, raised a point of order to protest against non-compliance by the President with his appointment of heads of federal government departments, agencies and parastatals. According to him, the recent appointments made by Buhari, for which he had sought legislative approval, show that the nominees were from particular parts of the country. The majority leader, Ahmed Lawan, however, argued that the appointments were balanced. He said, if you look at the larger picture, Saraki pointed out that the Senate would not act on sentiment and opinion, ruling that the Committee on Federal Character would investigate Buhari's appointments and present a report to the chambers on Tuesday. The chamber, however, became noisy as lawmakers shouted yes and no. Autism is a medical condition usually ignored as a result of myths and beliefs surrounded by it. Our correspondent, Amaka Okoye, was at a conference addressing issues related to autism and how to resolve it. She files this report.
Recent statistics show that 1 in every 7 persons in the world have one form of neurological disorder or the other, meaning about 1 billion persons are autistic. And in Nigeria, more than 1 million children and teenagers are affected by this condition. It is made worse by the lack of awareness of what this is and how to care for those it affects. At this year's conference, I caught up with Dr. Akonde and asked her the most difficult question. How do we deal with children who have been diagnosed as autistic?
You have to be patient, you have to be observant, you have to be technical, finding what that child, and the child has to trust you before he can reveal his strength to you.
In most cases, people associate autism with spiritual or demonic attacks and end up not getting proper medical attention. As enlightened as many countries may be in Africa and some parts of Asia, this rare medical condition stigmatizes the children who suffer it and creates a subculture of denial, which in turn makes it worse. What level of awareness is being created and sensitization for those with autism?
If so much emphasis is put on taking care of children with autism, children with special needs, then there's a need to get the community to also be at the same pace.
Most of them, at times, they are visual learners. We call them visual learners because it's what they see that they learn with.
They are more like every other child. It's just little difference. They don't understand things the way you do. You have to repeat for them to understand. You have to be patient with them and show them more of love.
People who have autism find it difficult to act in a way other people think is normal, e.g. they find it difficult to talk to people, look at people, and often do not like being touched by others. A person who has autism seems to be turned inwards. They may talk only to themselves, roll themselves backwards and forwards, and laugh at their own thoughts. The good news, however, is if diagnosed early and with proper medical care, people with autism can excel in life.
when they have autism, what we see are the challenges. We never look for the strength because there are so many challenges. We ignore the strength. So the mother is busy trying to fix what she feels is a challenge.
At the end of the autism conference here in Lagos, what we are all taking home with us is that, as we say in Africa, it takes a whole village to raise a child, whereas it takes one autistic child to raise the consciousness of the society on how to deal with autism. Reporting for Plus TV Africa, I am Amaka Okoye.
President Salva Kiir of South Sudan said he is ready to accept a peace deal to end a civil war and set up an inclusive new government. The deal being negotiated in Sudan would give the country 5 vice presidents and also cover security and power sharing. South Sudan erupted in conflict in 2013 because of a dispute between Kiir and his former vice president, Riek Machar. Tens of thousands have been killed, a quarter of the population has fled their homes, and the oil-dependent economy has been wrecked. A 2015 peace deal briefly halted the fighting, but it fell apart after Machar returned to the capital the following year. A Social Democratic Front, Cameroon's main opposition party, has officially filed the candidacy of its flag bearer for the presidential polls slated for October 7, 2018. Local media reports said that a mammoth crowd accompanied 49-year-old Joshua Osei Nabangi yesterday as he submitted his papers at the election's Cameroon regional offices in Douala. Osei, the main challenger to the long-serving Paul Biya, was accompanied by SDF founder and former flag bearer John Fru Ndi. A number of candidates are also expected to enter the race before submission deadline. Speaking to the media after his submission, Osei stressed that even though the number of candidates in the October 7th race may be lesser than that of the 2011 race, it was the reason why the election was significant in Cameroon's political history. Thousands of pages of United States intelligence documents on Nelson Mandela were made public on Wednesday, revealing that Washington continued to monitor the South African anti-apartheid hero as a potential communist menace even after he was released from prison. A group that sued to obtain the papers said. The Washington-based Property of the People released the papers to mark the 100th anniversary of Mandela's birth. The late Mandela was regarded with suspicion by Washington during the Cold War and remained on the U.S. terrorism watch list until 2008. Property of the People said its trove included documents from the major U.S. intelligence services, the FBI, the CIA, the DIA, and the NSA, most of which have never been seen by the public. The Mandela files can be found on its website, propertyofthepeople.org. When we return, we'll bring you news from the White House, then the latest on the Brexit plans and more. Don't go away. And on the foreign scene, Syrian rebels in Al-Quneitra province have agreed to accept a return of state rule or live to the rebel-held Idlib province and a surrender deal with the government, Hezbollah-run military news outlet reported on Thursday. The agreement would mark a major victory for President Bashar al-Assad in restoring his control over the frontier with the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. The move has recovered swaths of southwestern Syria over the last months in a Russian-backed offensive that has forced many rebels to surrender. United States President Donald Trump said at a news conference with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday in Helsinki that both had agreed to work together to help ensure Israel's security. Putin, Assad's most powerful ally, cited the need to restore the situation along the Golan borders to the state that prevailed before the outbreak of the Syrian crisis in 2011. The United Kingdom police is reported to have identified the suspected perpetrators of the Novichok attack on a Russian ex-spy and his daughter in Salisbury in March. Press associations report that several Russians involved in the attempted murder of Sergei and Yulia Skripal were identified through CCTV, cross-checked with border entry data. 66-year-old Skripal and his daughter were discovered slumped on a bench in Salisbury on the 4th of March and have been discharged from hospital and moved to secure locations. A British man, Naimo Zakaria Rahman, who was 20 years old and from Birmingham in England, has been convicted by the Old Bailey Court in London on Wednesday of plotting to kill Prime Minister Theresa May in a terrorist attack at her official residence. According to the BBC, he will be sentenced at a later date. Rahman told undercover agents he planned a suicide bomb on Parliament and attempted to kill Theresa May. The police also discovered that he was planning an attack that would include bombing the security gates that protected May at her home and office at number 10 Downing Street. He planned to stab the British leader to death, prosecutors said at the time of his arrest. We'll bring you business reports after this break. Do stay with us. And in business, a total of 338 billion naira has been approved by the Senate as payment of subsidy claims to all marketing companies. This followed a request by the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari, and the approval was made on Wednesday after the adoption of the interim report by the Senate Committee on Petroleum. 55 oil marketers were approved to be paid 275.7 billion naira, which was a total verifiable figure. However, 19 marketers with contentious claims and verifiable figures will be paid 65%, totaling 73.4 billion naira, pending further investigations and verification. Some of the full payment marketers are NIPCO, Capital Oil, Mobil Oil Nigeria, and Sahara Energy, while some part payment marketers include Forte Oil, Honeywell, and Orlando. Importation of haulage vehicles which are 10 years old and above from the date of manufacture have been banned by the federal government. The ban is expected to take effect from the 1st of January 2020. This was one of the several resolutions at the Stakeholders Forum organized by the Office of the Secretary to the Government or the Federation, Boss Mustafa. The decision was largely influenced by the recent inferno on the Otedola Bridge in Lagos, Nigeria. Also, mandatory certification of all haulage vehicles will now be carried out twice in a year. The South African gold mine industry has shown that 80% of the industry is now unprofitable, with gold prices at about 520,000 rand per kilogram. This was revealed in the data from the Minerals Council in South Africa, leaving fewer than 20% of the gold mine industry making money at prevailing prices. According to the council's chief, Henk Lergenhoven, cash costs, sustaining capital, and investment costs are being covered by 80% of the companies with today's gold price. Still ahead on Plus TV News is our roundup on sports and entertainment news. We'll be back in a moment.
In entertainment, Nigerian rapper and singer Skillz held a listening party for his new album titled Mr. Love on Wednesday evening at the Hard Rock Cafe in Victoria Island, Lagos. The event saw over 100 people turn up, with notable celebrities like Sam Sultan, DJ Jimmy Jat, Aramide, Banky W, Olisa Adibwa, and many others gracing the occasion. Our entertainment reporter Ife Oshunkeye was there to speak to Skillz.
Congratulations on your album, by the way.
We'll share you
and
too
there are a lot
much.
of people out here to celebrate with you tonight.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited. God bless everybody. You know, like the album says, Mr. Love, man, it's all about love. And right now, everybody that is here is the Love Gang. That's what we call it. We're here to celebrate love. And of course, I'm unveiling my album, which is going to be available in a couple of hours on all platforms, of course. We have hit music. I just put out a new single called Fireways featuring Harmonize. So ladies and gentlemen, let's go inside and have fun. Eh?
All right, so how long did it take you to record this album?
Yo, man, I'll say a couple of months, honestly.
So do you have a favorite song for yourself on this album?
Every song that made the album is my favorite song. You know, if they were not my favorite, they won't be on the album.
The event following the red carpet started at about 9 p.m. with lots of opening acts there to support Skillz, including Alternate Sound, iSweet Vice, Z Money, and many other, before Skillz himself came on stage. Still on entertainment, Faith Evans, who has been dating popular producer and reality star Stevie J, has reportedly gotten married on Tuesday, the 17th of July 2018. According to reports from several news agencies, the couple got married in a hotel room in Las Vegas. The couple cryptically revealed their union when news broke of their marriage license and it got out on Tuesday. Stevie tweeted, "I love you, Faith Renee Jordan." And in response to his tweet, Faith said, "I love you back, Stephen Aaron Jordan." Superstar Drake was the center of an argument that ensued between an Uber driver and Drake's driver. Commotion broke out when the rapper and his driver opened their doors onto the Uber driver's car. The Uber driver took offense, went ballistic on the duo, and even went ahead to call policemen on them. Drake, who had just arrived at Delilah's in Los Angeles when his driver opened the car door abruptly and accidentally dinged the Uber vehicle that was parked right next to them. The upset Uber driver started screaming out profanities at Drake and his chauffeur and even went as far as calling the police, but no reports or charges were filed officially. And that's it on entertainment, the very best in sports, right after this.
Hello and welcome to Sports Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko. AS Roma Director of Football Munchi admits that the transfer of Alisson to Liverpool is tough for the Roma fans to take, but it does not show a lack of ambition. And Liverpool have agreed a fee around £66.8 million for the Brazilian goalkeeper, who is currently in Anfield as negotiations is in an advanced stage. And Liverpool's bid would overtake the current record for a goalkeeper, and that was when Juve paid Parma €53 million for Gianluigi Buffon in 2001. Roma's high-profile signings this summer include midfielder Javier Pastore from Paris Saint-Germain for £21.8 million and winger Justin Kluivert from Ajax for £15.16 million. And Raja Nainggolan was also sold to Serie A rivals Inter Milan. And Rangers have contacted Police Scotland after footage emerged of a fan seemingly to racially abuse a child before the club's Europa League tie in Macedonia. And the footage, which has been condemned by the club's fans on social media, ends with the man saying white power to a group of Macedonian children, and was apparently filmed before the goalless first qualifying round second leg against Skopje on Tuesday. And Police Scotland confirmed that they have brought the footage to the attention of their Macedonian counterparts and are providing them assistance in their investigation. And charity Show Racism The Red Card said Show Racism The Red Card said they are disgusted by the racism and humanization in the footage and asked anyone with information to get in touch. And in Formula One, world champion Lewis Hamilton will race for Mercedes in Formula One for at least a further 2 seasons. And the 3-year-old has signed a new contract with a German manufacturer that lasts until the end of 2020 that could see him earn at least £30 million a year, rising to a maximum of £40 million, depending on bonuses. Mercedes have dominated Formula One since the introduction of turbo hybrid engines in 2014, winning 4 consecutive drivers and constructors championship doubles. And Hamilton has won 3 of those titles, with the 4th going to his former teammate Nico Rosberg, who retired after becoming champion in 2016. And Hamilton's first world title came with McLaren using Mercedes engines in 2008. Mercedes still have to confirm the identity of Hamilton's teammate after this season, but the Finn, Valtteri Bottas, is expected to be confirmed in the coming weeks. And that's it on Sport Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko.
And that's our news roundup of events. We'll be back later with more stories making the headlines. Do join us. I'm Benga Aborowa. Have a lovely day.